Welcome to Off the Record, a legal podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome into an all new episode of Off the Record with Rhett Burney. I'm your host, Mike Leon. Rhett is a family law and estate planning attorney based out in Greenville County, out in South Carolina, where he's helped families navigate divorce, custody, and future planning matters for more than 30 years. And joining me in today's episode is Melissa Smith, an associate over at the law firm, that's going to be helping me break down today's episode, which is naming a guardian for your children in a custody dispute. Melissa's going to explain how the courts make that decision, what the law requires, and how good planning can prevent future conflict. Melissa, it's good to see you. Let me ask you at the onset here, why would court appoint a guardian during a divorce proceeding?
Thank you, Mike, for having me. In any contested custody case, there's always a chance that the court appoints a guardian ad litem. They're not necessary. Guardian ad litems are not necessary in every case, but they can be helpful when parties are having difficulties reaching agreements regarding custody or who has final decision-making authority.
So let me ask you, in the state of South Carolina, how do you explain to folks what a guardian is and what that person's job is going to really involve?
Right. So in South Carolina, a guardian ad litem can either be someone who is what we consider a lay guardian. So they're not an attorney, but they meet the requirements for all of the training and hours of courses, or they can be an attorney guardian who does continuing learning education. And their role is to be a neutral third party who really is just looking out for what's the best interest of the child. And so sometimes I explain it that they're sort of like the child's attorney, but instead of necessarily just doing what the child wants, they're looking out for their best interest. So they'll consider the child's age and maturity level in how they talk with the child about what their preferences are, as well as meeting with parents, and if the condition of a home is a question, completing a home visit, talking to teachers if that's necessary. And they can really kind of look at anything that they need to, mental health records, for example, that they think is necessary to see who is a better fit for the child.
Melissa, let me ask you, because you've handled so many cases where I'm sure there was two ends of the spectrum. Parents set firm boundaries early, and then there's cases where there's like just no expectations were communicated at all. Can you share some examples that show how that difference affects what happens when the conflict escalates?
If parents set too many boundaries with the other parent, it can cause issues because the other parent is feeling like you're taking away their say and their rights in their child. And so that causes sometimes unnecessary conflict. But in other cases, if they're too loose of, oh, well, you can visit anytime you want, then you have an issue sometimes with parents coming over every night to help with bath time and bedtime, and it doesn't help the kids transition into kind of their new normal. And so having somewhere in between where the kids have enough interaction with both parents, if it's safe for them to do so, and being able to have phone calls with them as needed and see each parent is extremely helpful for kids transitioning into their new schedule.
And what about parents that, let's say, maybe didn't address the issues early on, and others that did address it early on? Can you share some examples that show how this kind of plays out, especially on these high conflict cases?
Right. With addressing issues early on, it helps the children to, especially with when you have younger kids. Older kids tend to handle adjustments a little bit easier, but younger kids helping to set forth that, both parents still love them, they're just going to have two houses and things like that, are the parents getting on the same page is extremely helpful for the kids to help that adjustment period. If they don't, then it ends up causing kids to overhear conversations that they shouldn't be hearing, and more conflict, not just with the parents, but then the kids feel like they're being pulled in between both parents of, well, who should they stand with? And that's not where they should be.
Yeah. Let's talk about some other major shifts that could potentially happen. Let's say a parent that moves out, a new parent coming into the equation. What's the right way that you would recommend for folks to revisit, update these decisions, especially if they're facing an ongoing custody battle?
When you're when you change the family dynamic at any point, it's always important that you set in clear boundaries. So if one parent is moving out, it may be having a conversation with the kids about this is what everything looks like for now. There could be shifts. We understand you're going to have feelings, but we want to be that place that you can talk to either of us about. Of course, doing age appropriate conversations. You can't talk with a 2-year-old the same way you can talk with a 16-year-old. And so having those age appropriate conversations, and then also offering for the children if they want to talk to a teacher or if they want to talk to a therapist, because it is a lot of change for the kids to have that open dialogue with them. It doesn't have to be necessarily when both parents are there, but having the parents be on the same page of what the message is. Now, when you're introducing someone new into the house, like a new spouse or a new relationship, you definitely want to make sure that the kids are comfortable with that person before. So having them meet in public places, doing fun outings together beforehand, letting the other parent know that you're in this relationship with this person, here's their name. I usually recommend offering a time for them to meet because I would certainly want to meet someone if they were going to be around my child all the time. And then not to cause conflict or anything like that, just to get to know them and see their face, and then slowly introducing them into your life instead of just jumping in of now all of a sudden you have this new person living in the house.
Yeah. Melissa, as we wrap on this episode, for the parents that are listening to this, maybe they're dealing with a hostile custody dispute right now, and maybe they haven't addressed this yet. What do you want them to understand about why making these choices early on can help protect the child's stability, maybe potentially even reduce future litigation?
When you're in the middle of a hostile situation and you're under the court's magnifying glass, you have to kind of be very careful about what you say to the other spouse, to the kids, and how you say it, and whether it's being recorded and text messages and things like that. And if you don't want necessarily a judge to be over analyzing what you're saying to each person, then it's more helpful to take a deep breath and not respond out of anger or being frustrated, and just realign yourself to focusing on your kids, because at the end of the day you're going to have to co-parent with this person. It may look different in each case because some situations they don't have to co-parent as much, but there's always some communication necessary. And so if you can, to kind of, if you've gotten to a hostile place, to reset, so to speak, and tell the other person, I understand that we have our issues with each other, but I think we both want what's in the best interest of our kid at the end of the day, if that's the truth.
Yeah. Melissa, thank you so much for the time and insights on this topic. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's it for today's episode of Off the Record with Rhett Burney. If you'd like to learn more about what Melissa and Rhett do to serve families across upstate South Carolina, do me a favor, visit rhettburney.com today to go check them out and schedule a consultation. Thank you to everybody for listening. And don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review and comment, or share the episode with someone who needs to hear it. As always, I'm Mike Leon. We'll see everybody next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.